Hello, everyone. I'm Jake with Schatzi Wines, and today we are going to be focusing on Weingut Gross. They are our premier producer in the Sudsteiermark. And with us today, we have Johannes and Martina Gross, and they will be talking through their estate's history, what they're doing now, as well as, of course, the wines themselves. Johannes, Martina, thank you for being here.
Hi, Jake.
Hi.
Hi to everybody.
Thank you for joining us today. Tell us a bit briefly about the history of Weingut Gross, and then we will talk about what you guys are doing.
Yes, so Weingut Gross is a family business, and my family dates back to the 16th century. It was so since about 1550, it is connected to this village and to winemaking also. Of course, this time in the Middle Ages is not so easy to follow this path because there's not so much knowledge about these times in our family. Let's say starting with the 20th century, we are quite sure what happened all over here. So I would say Steiermark was in this time part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and after the First World War, this empire broke down, and Steiermark was an area of two languages. So the Slavic speaking areas orientated direction Serbia and later Yugoslavia, and the German speaking areas headed to Austria. So this was a very important landmark in the beginning of the 20th century for our family, for our winery. Steiermark, when it was divided by the area, lost about 70-80% of its production. Steiermark was the biggest wine producer in the empire, in a big empire. And after these new borders were made, Steiermark was the smallest production in a small country. So this changed everything, and I think this was a tough time for the whole wine industry. My grandfather and my grandmother started after the Second World War the business with a Buschenschank, which is a small, let's say, farmer's restaurant where they sell wine and some cold dishes they produce on their own and which are farmed in their garden. And this was the main income for our family in the 20th century until, let's say, the mid of the 90s. So quite a long period. My father and my mother stepped into the business in the beginning of the 80s. And this was a time when Steiermark was on the bottom line of its quality. So the focus in wine growing was on to maximize quantity, to stabilize quantities, and the quality was not so important. They added lots of sugar just before bottling to mask the poor quality, to mask the high acidity and the lack of maturity of the grapes. And the generation of my father stood in front of a problem. They had to change. They had to start from the beginning. So they invented new techniques. They focused on the quality of the grapes and invented new technique like cold fermentation, cooling systems in the cellar. and they made very light and crisp and clean wines in these areas. In the beginning of the 80s, I would say this started, and of course they lost most of their customers, which were used to Swedish wines. But then came the wine scandal in the middle of the 80s, and this moment changed everything, because the customers of the wines, of the Swedish wines, um, uh, this did not have any trust into these wines. And my father's generation, he and some colleagues of his had already wines that were dry and clean and mineral. So they had the wines that the customer was seeking for in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
So in this moment, Steiermark started with an immense positive development. So the area had in 10, 15 years, the development of the area was crazy. The volume, the production raise. So my father took over a winery with 1.5 hectares. And when we took over the winery, we had 50 hectares in just maybe 30 years or something like that. And yeah, a big success for the wines in Austria and also in Central Europe, German-speaking areas, Germany and Switzerland. And the people love the wines. They drink very domestic, and are proud of the wines we produce in Austria.
Yeah.
So this was a big luck for us. My father and my mother could establish a winery, build up a winery, and when we took over, Martina and me, we were faced with the, let's say, we saw which problems the fast growth also brought with it. And we said we want to achieve and to make a surrounding that gives us the possibility to express ourselves. And both of us, we would say we are farmers. We are craftsmen. So we made the decision to cut the production, to give away vineyards which did not make it with our idea of high quality production,
Mm-hmm.
of the best. We wanted to seek for the best vineyards and gave away the rest. So we cut the production by half in a few years. Yeah, and invented lots of different things we will speak about, I think.
Yeah. So the decision to cut it in half, was that mostly because you wanted it to, well, in addition to focusing on quality, because you wanted to farm it yourselves to make sure that the more even that the two of you are able to really be in the vineyards and be able to control that amount of vineyards more so than 50 hectares.
Yes, that's true. And it's we feel we want to do a deep dive in our winery, and we think it's all about details, and we love to work on these details ourselves. We have a good team of 12 people now here in the winery, but we focus on the production, and our team is doing the office work and the sales and so on, and we are more focused on the production, on the details, to get better, to understand the terroir better, to understand the wines, and yeah, this is what we wanted to focus on.
So talk more about your focus on those details. Like what are you doing differently now that you've taken over the estate? What are you like talk about organics, talk about all that.
Yeah. I would say when I stepped into the winery, it was in the mid of the 2000s. Um, we were in the middle of a growth period. We every year we got 1-2 hectares more, and it was only possible to do that because of invention of herbicides, heavy tractors, and so on. This is the dark side of this development. That growing comes always with a cost. And I early saw that it changes not only our soils, our environment, but also our way of how we live as a family. And for us, um, the idea of changing to organic was made very early when we stepped in, but it took us until 2019 when we took over to do the full transformation to organic farming. Um, yes, the first step was focusing, watching the soil after using glyphosate for several years, and and we saw how the structure and texture of the soil changed. So this was a very early step for me when I stepped into the winery that we changed this. And but we saw that when we want to do the next step, there is more than just putting away the glyphosate. We need to invent a new, rethink all what we do, all what we invented in modern technique. So yes, there is a focus on building up organic matter in the soils. And this is by doing the right things in the right moment with the green mass. So we let the greens, the herbs, the flowers grow very high in the spring. We mow very late in end of May, beginning mid of June. And this helps us to build up the organic matter. We also installed a compost program. Mm-hmm. And because in some cases we need some cow manure to strengthen some parts of the vineyards. And we use our own press residuals, some grass cuttings, and some cow manure to produce high quality compost. This is what we did in the first step. There was also there's also a program on reducing the weight of our tractors. We started to select vineyards where we don't go with tractor in the vineyard, all by hand, all by feet. And we, after 3-4 years, we saw how immense the change of the soil was. So what we now invent is our robots, lightweight robots. They have maybe 300-400 kilos, and we can do the sprayings with that. So this is a big impact in the
Compaction.
compacting the soil. This is a huge step for us. I would say there is also a very important switch in our vineyard when we changed from tilling to winding. So we avoid to cut the apex. and we saw that the grapes, the wine itself and the grapes look different. This is very, very impressive to watch a wine that is that is respected in its natural cycle, and not cut all the time, and not stressed all the time.
So,
Uh,
so just to highlight that, so instead of cutting the vines at the top of the trellising system, you're rolling them and winding them around the top wire.
yes, that's what we do.
Great.
That's what we do. It helps us. It's winding this. It helps us in two ways. You don't cut the apex, so you don't have a stress reaction of the wine. The berries keep smaller. The leaves keep smaller. We don't have to remove leaves that are next to the grapes.
Mm-hmm.
So we use the leaves which are next to the grape as a cooling system for the grape, which is very good for the summer, for the dry and hot summer. Not tilling is important. So we don't have such big leaves,
Yeah.
and more smaller leaves. So we can leave these smaller leaves next to the grape, and when this leaf does some transpiration
Mm-hmm.
during the day, it cools down the grape which is next to it.
Right.
So it's our air condition in the hot summer time. For me, it's a perfect reaction on the climate change we see in our surrounding. But we also have big problems with hailstorms.
Mm.
So when we are winding, we build up some kind of that's protection for the grapes, which
Right,
also
because
helps.
you basically have this like bulkhead of vines and leaves at the top that
Yeah,
can protect from the hail itself.
yeah.
That's clever. I
We,
never thought of that.
we don't use hail nets. Lots of vineyards here are already covered with hail nets because it's a it's a it's a high pressure. We have lots of hailstorms here, but we are thinking about the impact of plastic in our soil, and I'm not sure if there could be a positive effect on that. I think the effect could be negative on the fertility of the soil if we invent plastic in our vineyards.
Right.
So yes, of course, this is very labor intense, lots of handwork, but it helps us um, to work with the wine and not against the wine, or with the wine against the adventures we have.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Have I'm thinking about now that we're in this sixth year or seventh year of organics for you guys after certification. What is the biggest difference between now and say when you started at the winery in terms for the
Uh,
vines themselves? Like, can you see it? Can you feel it?
yes. First of all, Sudsteiermark is a, a very rainy spot. So we have a high pressure of fungus, a very high pressure. And doing organic is quite hard to work against this high pressure. So it feels like organic farming in this area feels like jumping out of a plane, uh, and losing control of what you do. It's. I think this is the most important thing you have to understand. Doing organic here in this area is um, being okay with giving up control of the situation. yeah, believe in your work and and be thankful for every berry you get from your work and from your wines.
Yeah.
I think this is the biggest effect. But yes, I also see it. We also see it in the wines. You have higher phenolic components. We have lower sugars, and we get a higher acidity.
Hmm.
So it had a huge impact in our winemaking also. Uh, we switched the time of élevage in the barrels from 9 months to up to 42 months, because we saw the grapes are much more concentrated. The development of the wines in the barrel is much slower, and we want and need to react on that.
And that is that also does that reaction also come from your looking at historical ways that the
Yeah.
wines are treated?
I think it helped us understanding why the wines change, the taste of the wines change. Because my grandfather or the great grandfather, they did not have the possibility to use chemical and things to have synthetic fertilizers, to have all these gadgets.
Hmm.
And looking at the average yield in these times, it's very close to what we have now.
Hmm.
And so the lower yield brings a higher concentration.
Yeah.
And they understood, if you have if you look for the best sites, for the best sites where grapes grow with a high concentration, the wines need lots of time. So when we found out that our grapes are changing, we we found the reaction in the uh, historic books, and what my grandfather and great grandfather did, keeping the wine for a longer time.
Hmm.
So talking to my grandfather was very important for me to understand how the 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 area worked before all these innovations and new techniques came into this area.
Yeah. So it seems like your father's generation was critical for improving the quality for the region and redefining the style of the region. And you are coming in and taking that improvement on quality of the wines and applying that to the soils themselves and looking at history to see how organic and pre-industrial farming can help you now to further improve and improve the wines. Is that a fair assessment?
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Is local consumption still a huge part of Sudsteiermark? Like, do you sell a lot locally still?
Yes, we still do. We have here, in our winery we have a cellar door, and lots of people come in this area, and there is a very nice kind um, of tourism,
Mhm.
very slow tourism, but for us very high class. They taste the wines and they buy the bottles direct here. We have some distributors for the skiing areas, and there are lots of hotels in the Alps, and they buy the wine for their customers.
Mhm.
So yes, about 70% of our production is drunk in Austria, but maybe not 70% by Austrians. Um, but yes, I think we are proud. The Austrians are proud about their wines,
They should be.
um, and yeah, I think it helps us, but we also see that it brings some some advantages with it. If um, we we want to find new markets because we see that when we go outside into the wine world, we meet different people, we meet other people, we get more wines from different areas, and to understand how small our area is and how big the wine world is, helps us to push the quality. And this is what we really focus on. We want to push the quality and compete with the best wine growing areas in the world. We think we have the potential in our vineyards and in the climate to do so.
I think so for sure. Speaking of quality, can you speak about the STK and its role in the region as well as quality standards?
Yeah. So when my father stepped into the winery of my grandfather, there was a small group of friends working together and seeing the problems of this time. And it's mostly this group of friends that built the STK group, a group that wanted to implement quality standards that are higher than what's by law asked by law. And they found out very early that it's easier to work together and build up together an understanding of the area and to set standards. So this group worked like a power station, and lots of other growers felt that they were pushed by this group to get better and maybe also to implement other techniques, new techniques, and so on. I would say it was a very important group and is still a very important group. Now that the next generation took over in the wineries, there's still a friend group, but from the next generation and implementing the ideas. So most of the SDK group's members are organic farming, and we taste the wines together and talk about how to express our terroir, to face the future problems, to work on the development of getting better. We do less, let's say less. I don't want to say it the wrong way. The STK group was very strong in the 80s, 90s, 2000 to implement a stylistic idea. And our generation completely changed that and opened up our stylistic profiles. And the wineries which are part of the SDK, and I would say all of the Sudsteiermark growers are now much more diverse in stylistic expression than in the 90s and 2000s.
So would you say then that the SDK still has farming standards that are upheld, but looser stylistic?
We focus more on values, and not so much on taste, and technique. So this is the big shift that brought a new generation to this group.
That makes sense to me though, because when the SDK was formed, quality needed to be improved the most, and so the group did that in those 30 years, and now that is a standard of quality in terms of how the wines are treated and farmed, and the rest of it is just expression. So you're still taking care of the land, you're still taking care of the vines themselves to varying theories, but still mostly organically, with an eye towards farming, and then winemaking is, you can do more with, you have much more broad expression because you have a standard of farming. Is that correct?
Yeah, and it expresses also the diversity of our area. We have wineries in this group with 10 hectares and a winery with 100 hectares. We have a winery which vineyards are at 550 to 650 meter, and we have wineries which are on volcanic soil on 300 meters. So this difference is very important, and it's important that it tastes different if there is a difference in the place,
Absolutely. Speaking of that diversity of regions, can you speak about your part of Austria and why Sauvignon Blanc does so well?
Yeah, I would say talking about Sauvignon Blanc, I think first we need to talk about the influence of the soil and the climate, and then we go to Sauvignon Blanc. I would first the soil. We work mostly on marine soil, so calcareous soil. Some parts of former coral reef, so limestone, but most and for us the most impressive wines come from Ophok, which is a calcareous marl, a high content of clay and high content of limestone. And this brings a very special expression of the wine, very structured and dense wines, which need long time to open up. Of course, also the landscape is very important because we are elevated, we are near the Alps, and if we would have a plain area, we would not have wines here. So we need our steep slopes, we need the extra sun energy, the calories of the sun to get ripe grapes. And third, and I think this is the most unique thing for us. It's a very special climatic situation. The character of our climate is that we have the highest difference in winter and summer, and the highest difference in day and night temperatures all over Europe. So, so we have the character of our winters is lots of snow, lots of water, and very cold. The character of our summers is dry and hot. When I was a young child, we had a skiing facility just a few hundred meters from our winery. And in the same time, we grow figs and in our vineyards, So you have both sides in one place.
Sorry, I have to go. The kids.
Yeah. Okay.
Take care of the kids. Thanks for taking.
Yeah. Ciao.
Ciao.
And in the same day and night, we have a temperature difference up to 25 degrees between night and day.
Wow.
So this is a very strong impact in our fruit quality, in our aromatic quality, and also in the vegetation cycle, how long it takes to get the ripe grape. And to get to Sauvignon Blanc, this variety, of course, is not a variety. It's from France, and it came here about 250 years ago, and was implemented in the vineyards in a mixed plantation. So you found maybe 40 different varieties, and one of these varieties was Sauvignon Blanc. And this kept it kept this way until the beginning of the 20th century, but in this moment, the growers changed from this mixed plantation to small plot plantations. So they had one vineyard, and they planted the Sauvignon Blanc in the steep slope in the dry parts where you need the most of the sun, and other varieties in the lower parts, maybe where you have deeper soil, and also other varieties in the vineyard, which is not south facing, maybe east facing, with a bit cooler. So Sauvignon Blanc, a single varietal, we have our first bottlings, and I tasted some of these wines from the beginning of the 20th century. So 1999 was the first pure Sauvignon Blanc I tasted from here, from this area, and it's quite impressive how fresh these wines are still. In the 80s, 90s, when my father's generation stepped in, the Sauvignon Blanc took over the main role in our vineyards. So I would, from the view of now, Sauvignon Blanc makes 50% of our wines. And it's our main variety, and it's the variety that brings the highest average yield with the highest average quality. So it's our main variety, and we are lucky to have it. But on the same side, it's also very important for us to have this diversity, to have not just one variety. We are very lucky to have a few others also.
Yeah,
because it expresses our vineyards better. Mm-hmm. For example, our coolest sites, when we plant Sauvignon Blanc there, the grapes mostly keep grassy flavors and have a harsh acidity, lots of malic acid. So we plant in these vineyards, we plant Pinot Blanc. And on the other side, there are vineyards where Sauvignon Blanc, when you have not so much soil layer on the mother rock, Sauvignon Blanc is not perfect, because Sauvignon Blanc does not like water stress, and we don't have irrigation here. It's all dry farm. So if you put Sauvignon Blanc in a place where you have no soil, topsoil, it's not the best site for it. So we need a variety of different varieties,
right,
to work with.
Yeah, I know the Gelber Muscatella that I've tasted is quite special. And
yeah, with Gelber Muscatella, we have some Morillon, which is a Styrian kind of Chardonnay.
Yep.
Our second most planted variety is Pinot Blanc, and some Welsh Riesling, which is a very local variety. So yeah,
it's good diversity.
Some Traminer and Riesling, and so on. So quite different varieties. Our focus lies on two varieties. It's Sauvignon Blanc and Pinot Blanc. And then we have some other wines.
So let's talk about the hierarchy that you have. So you have basically a Burgundian hierarchy of how you classify your wines. Can you talk about the approach to that, where that came from?
Yeah. Yes. So the system, how we classify our wines, is a classic Burgundian way, or let's say it's classic European way.
Yeah.
When you look back to our tradition 150 years ago, all wines were named of their origin. And as higher the quality was, as smaller the vineyard was, it was mentioned on. So making regional wine, making village quality, making single vineyard wines has a very long tradition, and this is where we come from.
Yeah.
it was after the wars. There was a big shift in this idea. Why? My grandfather told me about this. You know, when the when the border was built in the middle of this area, lots of farmers lost their land on the other side of the border, and they lost lots of their best and prestige vineyards. So what they did is they still marketed wine under these prestigious vineyard sites, but they were not from there. Mm-hmm. And there was no strict law that forbade it. So innovative young growers said, this is all fraud, and we cannot rely on that. So my grandfather's generation stopped using names of vineyards and of villages, because putting the varietal name on the label meant it has to taste of this variety, and if it tastes of this variety and you mention it on the label, this is not fraud.
Right.
So so that's why we, for one generation, we lost nearly all the vineyard names on the labels of the wines. And when my father's generation started, they reinvented the vineyard names in the beginning of the 80s, I would say. They were the first years when they mentioned also again the vineyard on the label. But it was written like a big letters of Sauvignon Blanc, and then very small in the corner which vineyard it was. And I think it's a natural process. We just go back to where we come from, and we also set the legislative boundaries for that. So we needed to have the laws to protect these borders of these vineyards and so on. We needed to build this up before we implement this system again,
right?
Just to avoid fraud and misusage of so-called prestige sites and so on. Yeah. So yes, it was in 2018 when the official law was implemented, and that we use three tiers. Mm-hmm. There's the basis is regional wine. It's called Sudsteiermark. Then you have the village. In our example, we have Ehrenhausen. Mm-hmm. And then you have lots of different small plots, 1, 2, 3, 4 hectares of land. And this is the Reid wine, which is Reid is an Austrian term. It's similar to the term climat. So it's not the same as climat, but it's very similar to that.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Yeah.
Do you find that really helps define the wines for people? Like, I mean, that's a change that's happened fairly recently. Do you think that people really understand that a lot better?
I think it's nothing that was done for the customer.
Yeah.
Implementing this new law was, in the first thing, going back where we come from.
Yeah.
And re-implementing our traditions at first. Second, I think it was important for the growers themselves to build up proudness about their own vineyard site,
Yeah.
and about the little plot of land they are farming, and to try to express this small patch of land. And we think as a region, to do this, to go this way, and not to go the path of, let's say, varietal expression and mass consumption and wine for the masses.
Yeah.
It's a very important step for the region, because we are too small to compete with other regions.
Yeah. But also, I agree with that. And I think that by building this hierarchy, you can really highlight the historical aspect of these regions.
Yeah.
They've been around for a long time.
Yeah. So like the Nussberg, our most important vineyard site, it dates back to the 13th century.
Right.
So first mentioned in 1289. It's a quite a long period, and I understand why there was one or two generation when it was banned from our labels, but it's very important for us now, for our generation now, to reinvent it and to work on that. And it's not easy, because it's not easy to bring these wines to other countries, because of the language. German is not easy. The pronunciation is hard, and but we see this as our path we have to go.
Very good. Great. So Johannes, can you tell us a bit about your winemaking philosophy?
Yeah, of course. So winemaking, how to define our winemaking philosophy. For me, there are two imaginative lines I make. One line is the industrialized food standardization.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't use anything in the cellar that pushes the taste of a wine in one direction. I don't use new oak. I don't use any enzymes. I don't use any yeast strains that. So this is what we want, what we don't want to have. But there is another line, and this is the line where it's about understanding the process of winemaking, and not stepping into something what is driven by just tradition, just belief, or other influences that are not connected to what we know about the process that goes on. So we use sulfur for just before bottling, just to prevent from oxidation. What we don't do, we don't use sulfur in the process of winemaking, because in this first step of winemaking, you use it as an aseptic, and we do a selection of the grapes very clean and very precise, so we don't have problems with rot or so on.
Yep.
In the cellar. But I think using sulfur before in the processing already selects the yeast strains and the bacteria that are inside. And I want to express this place by this biome, which is on the skin, which is in the vineyard, which is in the barrel. What we also use is bentonite just before bottling. Both sulfur and bentonite in very low doses. but bentonite I use as clarificant so I don't have to filter the wine on the one side. But there is another very important impact for me. You reduce the histamines by 99.9%, and I have I have intolerance about that. So I like to drink my wines,
Yeah, you
and
should.
that's why we add this bentonite. Yeah. So we the factor time is maybe the most important for us in the cellar. It's the wine that defines when we bottle. It's the wine that is it the
Defines.
right term, that defines
Yeah.
when we rack. It's not the customer. It's not our bank account. It's the wine on its own, and that's why, for example, uh, um, Bergwein is bottled after 1.5 years, because you don't have the concentration of the berries in this wine, and they taking more time at this wine would cause more damage than it brings to the wine.
Right.
On the other side, if I would bottle the single vineyard wines after 1.5 years, they would be so closed, and they would not open up. And yes, this is our imagination of how they should taste is the most important thing, when to do what.
It's fantastic. So let's get into the wines. I think I'll take whatever you prefer. We can start with just the estate wines and then talk about Jakobi, or we could talk about Jakobi first and then the estate wines.
Let's start with Jakobi. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Jakobi, tell us about Gross and Gross and the Jakobi project, or
Perfect.
Gross and Gross project rather.
Yeah. So Gross and Gross is a project where we buy in grapes. It's a classic negos project. When we decided to cut our production, we in the same time we needed the consistency to have enough wine to sell, and this brought us the possibility to do this. So we have some long-term contract growers, small family farms. They don't do bottlings on their own, and we buy in the grapes. They do it as they want to. We have a qualitative focus. So we tell them how we want the grapes to taste and to work on. But of course, it's their thing to farm the vineyards. We just buy in the grapes, and we make a wine out of it that expresses the Sudsteiermark characteristic of Sauvignon Blanc. This is our idea about it. What is so unique about this area and about this Sauvignon Blanc from here? We have a long vegetation period. We have ripe fruit character, but in a very zesty and fresh and light wine, and this is what makes it unique.
And as far as their farming, do these small growers generally have the same philosophy for farming that you all do?
In general, yes, but this wine is the only wine which is not organic
Verified, yeah.
Verified. Why?
Okay.
Why we want to push our partners to go that path, but we also have to respect that these small vineyards are in some cases they are weekend vineyards. The family works during the week in a factory, and on Saturday they have time to work the vineyard.
Right.
And doing organic farming this is not possible, you know.
Yeah.
And so pushing them to go for organic farming would mean
they'd have to commit a lot more time, and they don't necessarily.
Yeah, and maybe they would crop out their vineyard and not do it anymore. So this is how it's in this moment. Let's wait for the future. Maybe new techniques come in with automotive robots or so, and then maybe this will be easier to do. But in this moment, this is not so easy.
Yeah, I understand that.
And we wanted to implement a new label where we connect us with new customers, which are maybe not so much into the wine thing, you know, customers which just start maybe or just like to drink a glass of wine, and we put the appellation on the label, so Sudsteiermark, yes, of course, but we focus on the brand Jakobi, and we make a calendar and show how was the vintage, how was the weather, what happened this year, how was the period of picking, did we have frost, did we have some other special events, and this we think we connect us with new clients, with a young generation of customers in this way much more easily.
I think so. Can you talk about the winemaking briefly?
This is 100% stainless steel. We work at these wines. We work with a Viticulture, so we make a starter, and to have a faster start of the fermentation, to have to preserve the aromatic compounds. Flavor expression is very important for us at this wine. And then we do not do malolactic fermentation there. We want to keep the malic acid to gain the freshness, to have the fresh acidity, and also we bottle just after 5-6 months to have this bit of this fresh CO2 from the fermentation.
Yeah, nice and fresh and zippy and.
Yeah.
Great. Let's talk about the estate wines. Bergwein.
Yeah, Bergwein is let's say the start in our winery. So 100% organic farmed in our own winery. And here also our idea of traditional winemaking is 100% done. So what's the difference to Jakobi, for example? We do a spontaneous fermentation. So we just top up the barrel and wait until fermentation starts. The wine stays long on the full lees, so we do not rack the wine. And malolactic fermentation starts in spring. And then the wine spends another few months on the full lees. It's not filtered. It's just racked. We get a clean wine. We get a clear wine. This is, for me, it's expression of a good craftsmanship to have a clean wine. But we don't have to filter because we have 18 months or more to bottle this wine. Yeah,
plenty of time for gravity to do its work.
Yeah, Bergwein means wine of the hill. It's a traditional term of our wines. It's a term that mentions the hard work of this to get to the grapes, and I like this term very much. Bergwein means handwork, means tradition. Bergwein expresses what's about Sauvignon Blanc, what's about the area here. And I would say, when I think about how could have tasted the wines of my grandfathers or great-grandfathers, maybe this would it be like.
And this is all in large barrel.
This is all large barrels. So these are traditional barrels between 300 and 2,400 liters.
And Bergwein is also it also is a particular degree, right? It's 26 degrees. That's required, right?
Yeah, that's the required by law required. 26 degrees is a flat piece of land for our area.
Yeah.
But I don't know why they pick this 26 degrees, but it means yes.
It means something, yeah.
Yeah, for me, it means steep sides. Yeah.
Right. I like your definition of what Bergwein means. And so it's like using that as well as knowing that it actually also has a legal definition. Right, tell me about Ehrenhausen.
Yes, this is now Ehrenhausen. It's our village. So the whole area has about 3,000 hectares, and our village has about 360 hectares. So Ehrenhausen is the area with the highest amount of active limestone, and this is what we want to express in this wine. So what we do is we are looking for the plots or for several areas within a vineyard where we find the highest activity of limestone, and we select these patches out of the vineyard, put them together in the barrel. And for me, this is the best way to express the uniqueness of our village. For me, we have this clay and loamy soils, but also the very high activity in limestone. And this is always something that makes wine. In one side, you have this texture from the clay, and on the other side, you have this precision and citrusy character of the limestone. And this is what we want to express here. So citrusy and finesse and straightness. It's also 100% big cask, or the same as the Bergwein, 1 year on full lease and another few months on fine lease before we bottle without filtering.
Great. And it's a great expression of it. So moving to single vineyards, tell us about your philosophy for single vineyards as a whole.
So the single vineyards, we select our oldest wines within this vineyard. So we pick the sites with the thin layer of topsoil, steep sites. So these are quite impressive sites. But even within this site, we only take the oldest wines. We are seeking for concentration, not concentration in terms of alcohol, but in concentration of flavor and texture. And this, we understand that this is only possible if you have the older wines. Following the techniques of our grandfathers and even before, we leave the wine for a long period in the barrel. We don't rack. We leave it 2-3 years, sometimes even longer, on full lees. In this time, the yeast protects the wine, and I think the wine makes walks through different periods of evolution. I have a picture of it like having an onion, and peeling off one
Layer,
peel
yeah.
of another, and in the end you come to the core. And for me, it's always to find out, okay, this process of oxidation, reduction, the wine makes in the barrel on the lees is wonderful to taste the wines, to follow, to be part of this process, and it really shows me the wonders and the mystic things about these vineyards and about the wines.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Tell me about Reid Sulz specifically.
Reid Sulz is a big, quite big vineyard with more than 30 hectares. We own an important share in the center of this vineyard. It's a south-facing site, and we have about 6.5 hectares in one plot. About four hectares we use for this vineyard. So this is for this wine. So this is a quite important wine for our family. The site is, as I already mentioned, the warmest site in Sudsteiermark, but it's also the site with the highest amount of clay in the soil. So you have on one side you have these florality and this fruit expression coming from a warm site. On the other hand, you have these powerful structured palate. I think it's a perfect wine to step into the world of our single vineyards, because it brings this ripe fruit character, and then you have this stony character on the palate.
It's quite an impactful wine. Like, it definitely hits you with that fruit, and it finishes with that minerality of the site. It's quite serious.
Yeah.
I think it's very much what you say about like a great step into the single vineyards.
Yeah.
And then of course the historic Nussberg.
Yeah, Nussberg is our most important vineyard. It's in our family since the 16th century. We work this vineyard, and it's not only a vineyard; it's our home. We live in between these wines.
Mm-hmm.
Our cellar is here, and we also live here. So I know every stone and every corner of this site. Yeah, it's connected to our family like nothing else, I would say. Nussberg is one of the first mentioned site in Sudsteiermark, or all of the area, and dates back to 1289. And it's a unique place because we have a unique geological situation here. When this soil was built up because of marine sedimentation, we have this epoch here. There came volcanic ashes and brought in a layer of several meters of volcanic soil. So we have a tuffeau here in the middle of a former ocean. And this is the only vineyard in all over Sudsteiermark where you find volcanic soils in between the calcareous sediments.
Wow.
So I think this is what makes it so unique in its expression. We have these deep, dark flavors, smokiness in here. It needs time to develop. In some vintages, even if we market this wine only after 4 or 5 years, It needs still some time in the glass, and maybe some extra air into
Decanter. Yeah.
decanter. Yeah, it's a serious wine. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's quite remarkable. The people that have tasted it have been very impressed with it. So, very good. And thank you to Johannes and Martina Gross. This was very informative, and I hope that this really provides a lot of the extra information that you all need to go out and show these wines in their best possible light. There's a lot of thought behind these wines. They're not just random things, random Sauvignon Blanc from Austria. There's history here. There's really high quality winemaking and a lot of thought that goes into the juice in these bottles. So, of course, if you have further questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at Schatzi, or if you like, of course, the website is very useful with an extended producer profile on Weingut Gross, as well as information about each wine. So until next time, see you soon. Thanks.